Hello and welcome to another What's Inside. Today we are looking at Magic the Gathering Arena of the Planeswalkers Shadows Over Innistrad tactical board game for 2 to 4 players, ages 10 and up. It's put out by Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro Games. Wizards of the Coast, as you probably know, is currently a subsidiary of Hasbro. Now, the copyright on this is 2015. It is getting hard to find these in stores, so be aware of that. It's okay looking packaging. The art on here is really good. This does not include any cards from the Magic the Gathering game. This is a different thing. This is just a board game. It's very similar to the Hex board game that was out a few years ago. I think it was called Heroescape or something, Hexscape, something like that. I don't remember. Didn't really like the game, but this is actually not too bad of a game. So, the art on the sides is really boring, but the back looks cool, and the top looks good. And we've got some actual minis here that are named characters from the mythology of Magic the Gathering. So let's open this up. It's just held back with some stickers here on the sides. I got a box cutter to open them up. Don't use sharp pointy things unless you get permission from a responsible adult if you are not one. Thankfully, I pretend I am, and I'm a grown-up. Being a grown-up does not make you a responsible one, however. Life lessons from Jack. So we got a lot of minis here, a lot of little pieces, and underneath here should be some more pieces. So we'll look at the little stuff a little closer in a moment. But here is our instruction book. Don't let the size of it intimidate you because it is fairly thick. It's in color with lots of pictures. It is a little bit of a complex game, but it's not overly complicated. It's what I would call intermediate normie. So if you have friends that like to play like Stratego, this is going to be more advanced than that. And it will be a step up for them in that regard, that it will be more complicated than your average board game player is used to playing, unless they're used to playing like Zombicide or something like that. It's not quite that complicated. Alright, you gotta be careful if you buy this new and you're taking this plastic off, because it'd be real easy to bend the corners on here. So we've got 2 sides to each piece. Sorry about the glare, not much I can do about that. There are only 4 pieces to this, so it's not too hard to damage one and really ruin the game because you kind of need all 4. And I don't know if you can see that, but this one is dinged up a little bit. They interconnect kind of oddly, so you want to be kind of gentle with these if you can. But they are pretty reasonable thickness. It's not as good as other games like the Ghostbusters one or the Zombicide, where the tiles are actually a lot thicker. But it's reasonably thick for a mainstream board game. So that is the tiles. Let's take a look at the smaller pieces. Okay, so these are some of the smaller pieces that pop out. Nothing particularly special about them. Reasonable thickness on here, not too bad. Next up, we've got our little stands. And a piece would go on top of here, so you can put a little guy on there. Like that. There are 3 of these in the box, so be aware of that. This plastic piece that it all comes in, not particularly high end, so probably going to get destroyed If you're buying it used, be aware of that. Alright, with these are just the stands to represent height. You stack them up like this to create hills of varying size, different terrain. There are 6 of those, 2 stacks of 3. Next up we have these, which are doubles. And there are 3 of those. Alright, let's take a look at the minis. These are actually pretty well molded. They're actually a little better than I thought they'd be. The sculpting is okay. It's not bad. I've seen a lot worse. And it's pretty decent plastic. Most of them, unfortunately, you only get 1 of each of, so that's a little disappointing, but they do look really good. And you can probably paint these up without much problem. And you get a fair amount of minis in here. Some of them have patent information and copyright stuff on the bottom, but not all of them seem to have that. I like these. These are pretty cool looking. Transparent ones. It's probably actually cheaper to make these, but they look really cool. That one really didn't want to come out of the box. It's very similar to the other one. Slight difference though. And that's the last mini. Next up, we have some little tokens here. So let's open these up, see what we've got. Alright, there's only 2 of them. They've got a little symbol on the back here. And then on the front, we have recall and healing. These are pretty thin, easily lost, so be aware of that. They usually hide out right in here. Alright, then we've got some dice. So let's open our dice pack up. All of these should be the same. And you've got 3, 6, 8 of them. So let's take a look at what the dice look like. So we'll just look at these 3. It's easier to see on camera. So we got some swords. And we got some shields. Oh, these aren't lined up quite right. We'll start over. We'll start with these shields, and then go shields to swords, then to shields, then to swords, and then we're back where we started, which means we have to go this way. So swords, shields, and then blank is the last one. So, not too much to look at here. These are okay little dice. They got a nice weight to them. They're okay. Nothing special. Nothing high end. Just kind of middle of the road dice. Probably going to be necessary to the game though. You'll want to recreate these if you don't have them, or find a way to replace them. Because these are going to be important and they're going to be hard to find. So, let's get those out of the way. And look at our other little packet here. We've got some like life tokens and a D20. And these are just mostly opaque little cubes. See if that's going to focus. Yeah. And let's see how many we've got. There's 20 of them. So there are 20 of these little red cubes. And we get a D20, which appears to be just a stock 20-sided die. It's in black with white letters, or numbers. Wow, letters. Good one. So, black die, white numbers. Nothing particularly special. It's a standard D20. It feels like any other D20 that you would commonly get with a beginner set of D&D. So, nothing too outstanding here. You'll want to make sure all 20 of these are here, or find something similar to replace these if they get lost. They're very similar to the little squares that you get in Pandemic. So let's get those out of the way and not drop them all over the floor. And we'll look at a deck of cards. There's 2 packs of cards here, and we'll look at both of them next. Alright, we'll look at our smaller cards first, since there's more of them, and we'll see what we've got in this pack. Alright. Shrieking Wood? Word? Sheltering Word. I can't read. And lastly, alright, so that's the smaller cards. They do have a kind of set icon down in the corner, so if you're playing this with the other sets, you'll be able to separate them if you need to for any reason. So that's kind of cool. Alright, let's look at our big cards and wrap it up. Alright, so now we've got the tall cards. As you can see by comparing it to smaller cards, is significantly different size. So let's take a look at these and see what we've got in here. Alright, so we've got Sorin of the Eternal Thirst. Ooh. And we've got a bunch of people's names I can't pronounce, so I'm not going to try. But some of these people are werewolves. So we've got one side for the human form and one side for the werewolf form. And it does have the set noted on the bottom of these as well. So you will be able to distinguish between the sets if you have all of these mixed in with the other sets as well. So, and we did look at one of the other sets previously, and it was just as good a quality. I don't know how well you're going to be able to read any of this, but the card quality is a little thin, actually. I expected slightly better paper quality for the cards, and in particular these cards. But it's not the worst I've ever seen, but it's definitely not the best. The art is really good. Like the Mad Prophet here, he looks really cool. It's got the cost down there. Yeah, cool looking card, but ooh, the cards could definitely have been slightly thicker in my opinion. Bloodline Nobles. We've got Skursdag Cultists. Ghoul Vanguard. Necro Alchemist. Lantern Geist. That was those transparent guys we saw earlier. Jace Investigator. I can't pronounce that. Something on Bloodied Wings. It's an A word. I'm not even going to try. And then some Inquisitors. Yeah. The art is very beautiful on all of these cards. I'm not upset with that at all. I just wish they were slightly thicker because you're going to be playing with these a lot, and these are, you know, barely trading card thickness in my opinion. So, yeah, unfortunately they're a little thin on both these and the other ones, but this is actually more damaging because they are much bigger. So the structural integrity is going to be a little weaker in the middle, and these will get bent very easily. So that is what is inside the Magic the Gathering Arena of the Planeswalkers Shadows Over Innistrad tactical board game for 2 to 4 players, ages 10 and up. Despite its incredibly long name, it is a really cool game. It looks like it's a lot of fun. I've played the other one. I haven't played this particular expansion, but I've seen it played. I've got friends that played it and highly recommend it. It's pretty cool looking. The minis are nice. All in all, I'm sure it uses the same mechanics as the other Magic the Gathering one. It's supposed to be able to be connected to it. So, all in all, this is definitely a recommend. If you've got some friends that want to play more complex games, this is a good introduction to that, to try and ease them into something like Zombicide or, you know, more complicated games like that. I really like Zombicide, in case you couldn't tell. But if you've got friends that aren't sure if they can handle a game like that, this might be a nicer introduction, because most people have heard of Magic. There are normies that have played Magic the Gathering, and they'll at least be kind of familiar with this style of play, because this is not as complicated of a game as something more like Bloodborne or Stronghold or something like that. So if you're looking to ease some normies into the hobby and get them to join the addiction of board gaming, this is a good stepping stone from Clue to getting them involved in buying Zombicide Black Plague or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or something like that. So, great intermediate level game. It's probably going to be a little challenging for 10 to 12-year-olds. You'll at least have to have an adult play with them to show them how to play the first few times, because it is a little bit of a complex game in some regards, especially with the cards, and there will be some arguments. But I think for the average person, this is a great intermediate game. It's the next step up for their gaming evolution, and I would recommend something like this before you dump them into a more complicated tile-based game. But that's just my opinion on it. So I would definitely recommend this. We've seen what's in the box. You've heard my opinion. That's going to do it for this one. As always, thank you so much for watching and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing so you don't miss future unboxings and reviews. If you want to help the channel out in other ways, my Streamlabs, Patreon, and Subscribestar are in the details in the description and on the About page. And as always, we hope to see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.